The sound of James's shower running upstairs gave me exactly 3 minutes. His smartwatch buzzed on the kitchen counter. Again. 5th time today. My fingers trembled as I picked it up, the screen lighting up with another message from LM. Everything's set for tomorrow. She won't suspect a thing. I'm Anna, and until 30 seconds ago, I thought I knew my husband. The watch vibrated again. Don't forget to delete these messages like last time. My throat went dry. The shower kept running upstairs, a steady rhythm counting down my window of opportunity. More messages appeared, each one a dagger. The account is ready. Transfer the rest tomorrow. She's too trusting to check. The last one knocked the air from my lungs. Our joint savings account, the one we'd been building for 8 years, meant for our dream house in Pacific Heights, the one I hadn't checked in months because I trusted him. I heard the water shut off. Quick, controlled movements. That's what I needed now. I set the watch back exactly as I'd found it, adjusted the angle to match the original position. My heart hammered against my ribs as I grabbed my coffee mug, trying to look casual. James came downstairs in his crisp navy suit, hair still damp. "Morning, honey." He kissed my cheek, and I fought the urge to wipe it off. "Big presentation today. Might be home late." "Of course you will be." The words slipped out before I could stop them, sharper than intended. He paused, hand hovering over his watch. "Everything okay?" I forced a smile. "Just tired. Good luck with the presentation." He grabbed his keys, slipped on his watch, and headed for the door. The same door we'd walked through as newlyweds 5 years ago, laughing and dreaming about our future. Now I watched him leave, wondering how many other lies had walked through that door. The moment his car pulled away, I called Samantha, my sister-in-law. My hands shook as I dialed. "Sam, I need your help. It's about James." "What did my idiot brother do now?" Her attorney voice kicked in immediately. "I need you to look into some financial records, and I need it done quietly." "Anna, you're scaring me. What's going on?" I sank into our kitchen chair, the one James had insisted on buying because it matched his precious modern aesthetic. "I think he's planning to empty our savings account. There's someone else involved. Someone with the initials LM." Silence on the other end. Then, "Lucas Morrison?" My stomach dropped. "Who?" "James's college friend. The one who's always getting into sketchy business deals." She paused. "Anna, if Lucas is involved, this is worse than you think." I opened my laptop, logged into our bank account. The password had been changed. Of course it had. "Sam, I can't even access our account anymore." "Don't confront him," she said quickly. "Let me do some digging first. And Anna, stay at my place tonight, just in case." "In case of what?" "In case I'm right about Lucas." She took a deep breath. The last person who trusted him lost everything. And I mean everything. My coffee had gone cold, forgotten on the counter. Outside, our neighbors' kids were laughing, heading to school. Normal sounds from a normal world that had suddenly turned sideways. "I need to know everything about Lucas Morrison," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "And then I need to know how to make them both pay." "Anna." "No, Sam. They're planning to steal my future. So I'm going to steal theirs first." I hung up and stared at our wedding photo on the wall. James's perfect smile, his arm around my waist, both of us radiating happiness. What a beautiful lie it had been. The watch messages kept playing in my mind. "She's too trusting to check." They were right. I had been too trusting, but not anymore. Margaret's kitchen always smelled like cinnamon and safety. She hummed while stirring her tea, the silver spoon clinking against porcelain in that familiar way that usually calmed my nerves. Not today. "You seem distracted, dear." She placed a steaming mug in front of me. "James mentioned you've been working late." I nearly choked on my first sip. Of course he'd say that. Did he? Funny, considering he's the one who's never home. Her humming stopped. "Trouble in paradise?" "Paradise is overrated." I traced the rim of my mug, wondering how much to tell her. Margaret had always been more mother to me than mother-in-law, but she was still James's mother. "Have you ever noticed anything off about Lucas Morrison?" Her hand trembled slightly as she set down her spoon. "Lucas? I haven't heard that name in years. Not since..." She pressed her lips together. "Since what?" "Nothing. Ancient history." But her eyes said different. Why do you ask about Lucas? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Samantha. Found something. Meet me at my office. Now. I have to go. I stood, kissing Margaret's cheek. Thanks for the tea. Anna. Her voice stopped me at the door. Whatever you're looking into, be careful. Some stones are better left unturned. Samantha's law office occupied the 15th floor of a glass tower downtown. She was waiting by the elevator, manila folder in hand. You're not going to like this. She led me to her office, closed the door, and spread documents across her desk. Bank statements, property records, business filings. Lucas Morrison isn't just James's friend. They're business partners. What? 3 shell companies, all registered in Nevada. And guess what? Your joint savings account has been making regular transfers to one of them for the past 6 months. My hands shook as I picked up a statement. $200,000? That's impossible. I would have noticed. Not if the notifications were disabled on your banking app. She pulled up another document. But here's where it gets interesting. These companies, they're all connected to failed real estate developments. Properties that were supposed to be luxury condos but never broke ground. A scam? More like a pyramid scheme. They take investor money for one project, use it to pay off debts from previous failures, then start the cycle again. She leaned back. And James is neck deep in it. My phone buzzed again. James, working late again. Don't wait up. I need to see where he really goes. The words came out before I fully processed them. Anna, no. Yes, tonight. I stood up. Will you help me? 20 minutes later, we parked across from James's office in Samantha's black SUV. Right on schedule, he emerged from the building, but instead of heading home, he drove toward the Marina District. This is a bad idea, Samantha muttered as we followed at a safe distance. James's car finally stopped outside an upscale restaurant. Through the window, I could see Lucas already waiting at a table. A woman in a red dress joined them moments later. That's Claire Peterson, Samantha whispered. She's on the city's planning commission. My stomach turned as I watched James kiss Claire's cheek, his hand lingering on her waist. Lucas raised his wine glass in a toast, grinning like a shark who'd found his next meal. We should go, Samantha said softly. Wait! I pulled out my phone, started recording. I need evidence. For what? Divorce? Or something else? I thought about Margaret's warning, about stones better left unturned. But I also thought about our savings, our dreams, our future. All of it built on lies and theft. Both, I said finally. I'm going to take everything from them. The money, the schemes, their reputations. All of it. Samantha touched my arm. That's not you talking, that's anger. Maybe it's time I got angry. I watched as James laughed at something Claire said, his hand now resting on her knee. They think I'm too trusting? Too naive? Fine, let them think that. It'll make it so much sweeter when I burn their whole world down. Anna, no. I've made my decision. I lowered my phone, having captured enough. But first, I need to talk to Margaret again. She knows something about Lucas, something from the past. And I'm going to find out what it is. In the restaurant, James raised his glass again. To success, probably. To getting away with it all. Enjoy it while you can, I thought. The trust might be gone, but revenge? That was just beginning. Margaret's hands trembled as she placed the old shoebox on her kitchen table. I should have told you this years ago. She pulled out a stack of yellowed newspaper clippings. Before Lucas destroyed another family. The headline caught my breath. Local developer faces fraud charges. Below it, a younger Lucas smiled at the camera, arm around a woman I didn't recognize. That's Rachel, Margaret said softly. James's sister. I stared at her. James never mentioned having a sister? Because she's dead. Margaret's voice cracked. Lucas convinced her to invest everything in one of his schemes. When it fell apart, she couldn't finish. My phone buzzed. A text from James. Having dinner with clients, don't wait up. I showed Margaret the restaurant photo from last night. Her face went ash white. Claire Peterson. She was Rachel's best friend. The pieces clicked together like a toxic puzzle. The planning commission. They're using her to approve their developments. History's repeating itself. Margaret pulled out more clippings. Lucas did the same thing 15 years ago. Rachel found out, threatened to expose him. A week later, her car went off Mount Tamalpais. My hands shook as I spread the articles across the table. The police ruled it an accident? They couldn't prove otherwise, but Rachel had left me a letter. Margaret's voice hardened. She knew too much. About Lucas, about the schemes, about James. James? He was involved back then? No, but he knew. He knew what Lucas had done, and he stayed silent. To protect the family name, he said. She laughed bitterly. Now look at him, following the same path. My phone buzzed again. Samantha. Emergency. Claire Peterson just filed permits for 3 new developments, all under shell companies. I have to go. I gathered the clippings. Can I take these? Margaret grabbed my wrist. Be careful, Anna. Lucas isn't just a con man. He's... The front door opened. James walked in, freezing when he saw us. Mom? Anna? What's going on? Book club, I said smoothly, sliding the clippings into my purse. We're reading true crime. His eyes narrowed at the shoebox. Mom, you're not showing her old family photos, are you? Of course not, dear. Margaret's voice was honey-sweet. Just catching up. James checked his watch. We should go, Anna. Remember? Dinner reservations? Right. I kissed Margaret's cheek, whispering, I'll call you. In the car, James drove in silence for 3 blocks before speaking. What were you really doing there? Missing my mother-in-law. Is that a crime? Don't. His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Don't dig into things you don't understand. Like shell companies? Or Claire Peterson? The words shot out before I could stop them. He slammed the brakes, pulling over. Who have you been talking to? Your sister would be so proud. I watched his face drain of color. Rachel, right? Or do you pretend she never existed? Get out. What? Get out of the car, Anna. Now. I grabbed my purse, hands trembling with rage. You know what's funny? I actually felt guilty about investigating you. But you're worse than I thought. You're not just a cheater and a thief, you're a coward. I'm trying to protect you. His voice cracked. Please, just stay out of this. Like you protected Rachel? He flinched as if I'd slapped him. You don't know what you're talking about. I know enough. I stepped onto the sidewalk. And soon, everyone else will too. As I watched his car speed away, my phone buzzed one last time. An unknown number. Meet me at the Golden Gate Overlook, midnight. I have what you need to take them down. Come alone. LM. Lucas Morrison wanted to meet. The man who'd orchestrated Rachel's death, who'd corrupted James, who'd destroyed countless lives with his schemes. I thought of Margaret's warning, of Rachel's fatal drive up Mount Tamalpais. Every instinct screamed danger, but sometimes to serve revenge cold, you have to dance with the devil. I texted back, I'll be there. Then I called Samantha. I need a favor, and this time, don't try to talk me out of it. What are you planning? I looked at the newspaper clipping in my purse, at Rachel's smiling face. Justice for everyone they've hurt. The sun was setting over San Francisco Bay, painting the sky blood red. Fitting, I thought. By midnight, everything would change, one way or another. The Golden Gate Bridge loomed ahead, a steel giant wrapped in midnight fog. I parked where Lucas had instructed, my hand tight around the pepper spray in my pocket. Samantha's words echoed in my head. This is insane. At least let me come with you. But I needed to do this alone. A black Mercedes pulled up beside me. Lucas stepped out, looking exactly like his newspaper photo from 15 years ago. Same shark smile, same predatory grace. Mrs. Walker, brave of you to come. Cut the pleasantries. What do you have? He pulled out a manila envelope. Everything. Bank records, permit applications, Claire's involvement, even the truth about Rachel. My fingers itched to grab it. Why help me now? Aren't you and James partners? Partners? He laughed, the sound sharp as broken glass. James is a puppet, always has been. Even with Rachel, he just followed orders. Whose orders? A car's headlights swept across us. Lucas stiffened. We need to move. Now. Not until you tell me. Get down! He shoved me behind his car as gunshots cracked through the night. Glass shattered. I caught a glimpse of a familiar Navy suit behind the wheel of the passing car. James. Lucas grabbed my arm, dragging me toward the overlook's edge. There's a maintenance stairway. Move! More shots. Lucas stumbled, the envelope falling. Papers scattered in the wind like dead leaves. He pressed something small and cold into my hand. USB drive. Everything's there, including who really killed Rachel. Who? You already know. Blood darkened his shirt. Why do you think James married you? You look just like her. Footsteps approached. Lucas shoved me toward the stairs. Run. And Anna, trust no one, especially not. The final shot echoed across the bay. I ran down the metal stairs, legs shaking, the USB drive clutched in my fist. Above, I heard James's voice. Where is she? Lucas's laugh, wet with blood. You really think she'll stay with you now? After learning what you did to Rachel? Another shot. Silence. My phone buzzed. Samantha. Where are you? James just called, saying you're in danger. I didn't respond. Instead, I called Margaret. Anna? It's midnight, what? Did you know? My voice shook. About Rachel. About why James really married me. Silence. Then softly, come over. There's something you need to see. 20 minutes later, I sat in Margaret's kitchen, staring at a photo I'd never seen before. Rachel and me, side by side in different photos. The resemblance was uncanny. James saw your profile on a dating app, Margaret said. He showed it to me, said it was like seeing a ghost. I should have stopped him then. From what? Marrying me? From using you to ease his guilt. She pulled out a letter, the paper worn from repeated folding. Rachel wrote this the night she died. She wasn't just threatening to expose Lucas. She was going to expose James, too. He was the one who brought her into the scheme. My phone buzzed again. James. Anna, please, let me explain. I was trying to protect you. Like you protected Rachel? I typed back. His response came instantly. I loved her. Everything I did was for her. And me? Was I just her replacement? No response. Margaret touched my hand. What will you do now? I looked at the USB drive, at Rachel's letter, at my wedding ring, which suddenly felt like a noose. First, I'm going to the police, then the SEC, then the media. I stood up. But before that, I need to know everything. About Rachel, about the schemes, about James. No more secrets. He'll come after you. Good. I thought of Lucas bleeding out on the overlook, of Rachel's car going off that mountain, of 5 years married to a man who saw me as a ghost. Let him try. My phone buzzed one final time. An email from Lucas, sent moments before he died. If you're reading this, I'm dead. But the game isn't over. Check the USB. And remember, James isn't the mastermind. He never was. The real puppet master is closer than you think. I looked at Margaret, calmly sipping her tea, and wondered just how many secrets this family still held, and how many more people would die before I uncovered them all. The USB drive's contents spilled across Samantha's computer screen. Offshore accounts, forged permits, email threads spanning decades. But one name kept appearing, linked to every transaction, every scheme. This can't be right, Samantha whispered. I leaned closer. What? These accounts? They're not just James's or Lucas's. She pointed to a signature block. They're Margaret's. The room tilted. I gripped the desk to steady myself. That's impossible. Look at the dates. The first transfers started right after her husband died. 20 years of shell companies, all leading back to her. Samantha pulled up more documents. And Anna? Rachel found out. The night she died, she sent an email to the SEC. My phone buzzed. Margaret. Coming over for tea? We need to talk. Don't go, Samantha said. I showed her the screen. If I don't, she'll know we found this. Then she'll know you're a threat, just like Rachel was. The office door opened. Claire Peterson walked in, perfectly composed in her red dress. Actually, that's exactly what she'll know. Samantha reached for her phone, but Claire pulled out a gun. Please don't. This is complicated enough. How long? I asked. How long have you been working with Margaret? Since college. She was my professor before she married into the Walker family. Claire's smile was razor sharp. She saw potential in me. Like she saw it in Rachel. Like James saw it in you. Where's James now? Cleaning up Lucas's mess. Margaret's orders. She gestured with the gun. She wants to see you. Both of you. Samantha's hand found mine under the desk. One squeeze, our old signal from childhood. Run. I knocked over my chair, diving as Claire fired. The bullet shattered the window behind us. Samantha threw her laptop, buying us seconds to reach the emergency stairs. Split up, she shouted. I'll meet you at the safe house. I ran down while she went up, our footsteps echoing in the stairwell. Behind us, Claire's heels clicked on metal steps. My phone buzzed again. James. Don't trust anyone, even me, especially me. Another text followed, this one from Margaret. I tried to keep you out of this, dear. I really did, but you're so much like Rachel, too curious for your own good. I burst out of the stairwell into the parking garage. A black SUV screeched to a halt in front of me, James behind the wheel. Get in! Why should I trust you? Because I just saved Lucas's life. He's at the hospital under protection, and because... He swallowed hard. Because I couldn't save Rachel, but I can save you. Claire's gunshot echoed through the garage. I jumped in. James floored it, tires squealing. Margaret raised me to be loyal to family, but she never told me what that loyalty would cost. Rachel? I thought... His knuckles whitened on the wheel. I thought if I found someone like her, it would fix everything. That's what Margaret said. Find a replacement. Keep the family whole. While she stole millions. Billions, he corrected. The construction projects were never meant to be built. They're just fronts for moving money. Margaret's been doing it since before I was born. My phone buzzed one last time. Margaret. Come home, dear. Let's have that talk. Or should I tell the police where to find Samantha? James glanced at the message. She has her? The safe house. My voice cracked. Samantha was supposed to meet me at the safe house. Margaret owns it! She owns everything! He took a sharp turn onto the bridge. We have to get out of the city. No. I thought of Rachel's letter, of Lucas bleeding on the overlook, of Samantha running up those stairs. We have to end this. Anna, take me to Margaret's. I pulled up Rachel's final email to the SEC on my phone. It's time to finish what your sister started. He met my eyes in the rearview mirror. She'll kill you. Maybe. I thought of all the women Margaret had destroyed. Rachel, Claire, me, all pawns in her game. But sometimes the pawn takes the queen. James turned the car around, heading toward his childhood home, toward Margaret, toward either justice or death, or maybe both. Margaret's house loomed before us, warm lights glowing behind Victorian windows. A perfect facade, just like everything else about her. James killed the engine, his hands shaking. She's waiting for us. Inside, Margaret sat at her dining table, elegant as ever in her pearl necklace. Samantha knelt beside her chair, Claire's gun pressed to her temple. Anna, dear, James. Margaret gestured to the empty chairs. Family dinner at last. I stepped forward, but James grabbed my arm. Where's Lucas? Hospital security is quite lax these days. Margaret sipped her tea. Especially when properly motivated. My phone buzzed. A message from Lucas's number. A photo of his hospital room, empty except for a blood-stained sheet. Sit, Margaret commanded. Let's discuss your inheritance. We sat. Samantha's split lip and bruised eye told me she'd fought hard. She mouthed one word. Run. I built this empire, Margaret said, from nothing. My husband thought I was just a school teacher. James's father never suspected his sweet, supportive wife was orchestrating everything. She smiled at James. You were supposed to be different, better than your father. But you're weak, just like him. You killed Rachel, I said. Your own daughter. Rachel was ungrateful. Like you. She nodded to Claire, who pressed the gun harder against Samantha's head. But we can fix this. Sign these papers, transferring everything to my holding companies. All of it. Your assets, your evidence, your little USB drive. Then maybe Samantha lives. James reached for the papers. Mom, please. Don't call me that. You lost that right when you chose her over family. She pushed a pen toward him. Sign. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number? Check your email, now. I glanced down. A video file from Lucas, sent minutes before his death. My hands trembled as I pressed play. Margaret's voice filled the room. Rachel knows too much. Take care of it. Make it look like an accident. James went pale. That's not... Your voice is on here too, I said. Agreeing to kill your own sister. Claire's hand tightened on the gun. Margaret? It's fake, Margaret snapped. Obviously. But James was staring at her. Really seeing her for the first time. You told me Rachel killed herself. That's why you wanted me to find Anna. To replace her. To keep me from asking questions. I made you strong, Margaret hissed. Everything I did was to protect this family. By killing my sister? By using Anna as her replacement? By eliminating weakness. She stood, pulling another gun from her cardigan. Like I'm doing now. Everything happened at once. James lunged for Margaret. Claire's gun wavered. Samantha threw her head back, catching Claire in the chest. I dove for the fallen gun. 2 shots rang out. James crumpled, blood blooming across his chest. Margaret stood over him, smoke curling from her gun. My own son, she said softly. Another disappointment. I raised Claire's gun with trembling hands. It's over, Margaret. The video's already uploaded to the SEC. She laughed. You think that matters? I own half the SEC. I own this city. I own you. No. James's voice was weak. You don't. He pressed something into my hand. A phone, recording everything. Live streaming, he gasped. To everyone. The whole company. The investors. Everyone. Margaret's composure cracked. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. You're lying. Check your phone, Samantha said, blood trickling from her lip. It's trending. Margaret's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, and again. You're all dead, she whispered, raising her gun. Every last one of you. Another shot rang out. Margaret staggered, looking down at the red stain spreading across her perfect cardigan. Behind her, Claire lowered her smoking gun. That's for Rachel, Claire said. And for all of us you used. Margaret fell, her pearl necklace scattering across the hardwood floor like tears. I crawled to James, pressing my hands against his wound. Stay with me, please. I'm sorry, he whispered. For everything. For not being strong enough to stop her sooner. James! Get out, Claire interrupted. All of you. I'll handle this. Why? Samantha asked. Because Margaret owned me too. Now go, before the police arrive. We stumbled out into the night, supporting James between us. Behind us, one final shot echoed through Margaret's perfect house. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Lucas's number. The Queen is dead, but the game isn't over. Check the last file on the USB. The real puppet master is still out there. I looked back at the house, at the empire of lies crumbling behind us, and wondered how much deeper this web of betrayal went, and whether any of us would survive unraveling it. The hospital corridor stretched endlessly, antiseptic white under fluorescent lights. James lay in surgery while Samantha and I huddled over the USB drive in the waiting room. This can't be right, Samantha whispered, staring at the final file. Before I could respond, my phone lit up. Claire, police found Margaret and me. I'm in custody. But Anna, they found something else. Check the basement. What basement? The one under her garden, where Rachel really died. My hands shook as I pulled up the last file from Lucas's drive. Photos, dozens of them. Margaret's basement, filled with filing cabinets, financial records dating back 30 years, and Rachel confronting someone. Not Margaret, not James, Samantha. The timestamp showed 1 hour before Rachel's accident. I turned to her slowly. You were there. Samantha closed the laptop. I was trying to stop her. From what? From ruining everything. Her voice changed, harder now. Rachel was going to expose the whole operation, not just Margaret's part. All of it. The real empire. Your empire. She smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly like Margaret. Who do you think taught her everything she knew? I was her star student before I married into the family, before I positioned James to take over the construction company, before I found you. You found me? Dating apps are so easily manipulated. The right profile shown to the right person at the right time. She pulled out a gun, Margaret's gun. James wasn't the only one who saw Rachel in you. I needed someone malleable, someone who would ask the right questions, push the right buttons, make Margaret sloppy. The pieces clicked together. You used me to expose Margaret, and it worked perfectly. The company's in chaos. The board will need new leadership. She stood. Someone who helped expose the corruption. Someone like James's grieving wife. James is still alive. For now. Hospitals are so unpredictable. She checked her watch. In fact, he should be coding right about... The emergency alarm blared. Doctors rushed past our waiting room. What did you do? The same thing I did to Rachel when she wouldn't play along. She aimed the gun at my chest. The same thing I'll do to you if you don't sign these papers right now, transferring everything to my holding company. That's why you helped me gather evidence. Why you pushed me to investigate. You needed a witness against Margaret. I needed a pawn. She tossed a pen onto my lap. Sign. I thought of Rachel. facing this same choice in that basement. Of Lucas, trying to warn me with his last breath. Of James, bleeding out to expose his mother, never knowing his sister-in-law was the real puppet master. No. Excuse me? I held up my phone. Say that part again. About killing Rachel. Her eyes widened as she saw the active call to Claire's police contact. You really are just like her, Samantha snarled, finger tightening on the trigger. The gun roared. Samantha staggered, looking down at the red spreading across her chest. Behind her stood James, pale and swaying in a hospital gown, holding Claire's backup gun. Actually, he gasped, she's better. Security swarmed the waiting room as Samantha crumpled. James collapsed into my arms, his stitches torn but alive. How? I asked. Claire warned the hospital about potential tampering. He coughed. Been watching for Samantha's people. My phone buzzed one final time. Claire. Basement files secured. Samantha's network identified. It's over. I held James as the paramedics rushed in, watching Samantha being cuffed on her way to surgery. She looked at me, and for a moment, I saw something like respect in her eyes. You were right, she whispered as they wheeled her past. You're not Rachel. She never saw it coming. Later, sitting beside James's recovery bed, I thought about pawns and queens, about revenge and justice, about how the deadliest predators are often the ones hiding in plain sight. What now? James asked weakly. I took his hand, feeling the weight of everything we'd lost and everything we might still save. Now we rebuild. But this time, no more secrets, no more games, no more revenge. I thought of Margaret's empire, of Samantha's web of lies, of all the lives destroyed by their ambition. No, I said, now we focus on justice. The autumn wind whipped across the cemetery as I placed flowers on Rachel's grave. Behind me, James leaned on his cane, still recovering but stronger each day. She would have liked you, he said. Because I look like her? Because you finished what she started. The morning paper had splashed Samantha's conviction across the front page. 25 years for Rachel's murder. Life for the financial crimes. Margaret's empire, dismantled piece by piece. Claire's testimony had sealed it all, earning her immunity and a chance at redemption. The board meeting's today, James said. They're announcing the new CEO. I touched Rachel's headstone. Are you ready? To dismantle my family's company? To rebuild it as something honest? He managed a weak smile. No, but that's why I need you there. The Walker Industries boardroom felt different now. Smaller, perhaps. Or maybe I was bigger. The board members watched us enter, their faces carefully neutral. Mrs. Walker, the chairman began, your evidence against Samantha and Margaret was comprehensive. The shareholders are understandably concerned about the company's future. They should be, I said, placing a folder on the table. Because there's more. James squeezed my hand as I revealed the last piece of Lucas's legacy, proof of board members' complicity in Margaret's schemes. Their faces paled as I named names, amounts, dates. You're destroying the company, one protested. No, James said. We're saving it by burning out the rot. And who'll lead this salvation? I stood. Claire Peterson. The room erupted. James smiled. He'd known my choice before I made it. Claire entered, no longer in her red dress, but in a sharp business suit, carrying the confidence of someone who'd faced her demons and won. The woman who helped expose the corruption? The chairman scoffed. A turncoat? Someone who understands the cost of silence, I corrected, and the value of truth. Later, standing in Margaret's garden, James watched as workers excavated the basement. What will you do with it? Turn it into a shelter, I said, for women escaping financial abuse. Rachel's house. He nodded, understanding. And us? I thought of our marriage, built on lies but ending in truth. Of revenge that had transformed into justice. Of a woman I'd never met but whose legacy I'd inherited. We rebuild, I said. Not as husband and wife, but as partners. The company needs both of us to make this work. Partners, he tested the word. I think Rachel would have liked that better anyway. My phone buzzed. A message from Claire. Found something else in Margaret's files. Come alone. I showed James the text. No more secrets between us, even if we were no longer together. Go, he said. I'll handle the press about the CEO announcement. Claire waited in Margaret's study, now stripped of its elegant facades. There's one last thing you should know. She handed me a photo. About why Margaret chose you. The image showed a young Margaret with another woman, my mother. They were friends in college, Claire said. Before your mother died in that car accident. The same way Rachel died. The same way Samantha had planned for me to die. Does James know? No one does, except you now. Claire watched me carefully. What will you do with this? I looked at the photo, at these two young women smiling, unaware of the tragedy and betrayal ahead. At my mother, whose death might not have been an accident after all. But that was another story. Another revenge. And I'd learned enough about vengeance to know its true cost. I put the photo in my pocket. Some truths could wait. Some secrets could stay buried, at least until the right moment. We focus on the future, I said, on building something better than they ever imagined. Claire nodded, understanding the weight of chosen justice over easy revenge. Outside, the excavators continued their work, unearthing the past while we planned the future. I touched the photo in my pocket, feeling its edges press against my heart like a promise. Or perhaps a warning. Some games never truly end, they just change players.